Welcome back to Marvel Puzzle Quest with me, P.I. McLeod. And, hey, look at day 3610. We need a free electro cover. Yeah, there she is, sitting there. Green cover for her. Just gotta get to 3610. We're getting really close to that 10-year mark, aren't we? Anyways, what are we here for today? It feels like a Sunday to me, but that's because it's Labor Day, so I might be a little off on my tempo, but whatever. The case is, I'm looking at 4 stars from 2019, and we're going to rate them. Rank them, rate them, what do you want to call it. We're going to go through them and give them that treatment that we've been giving every other class so far. Since these classes have gotten so big, we've had to do it on full stream videos. But, hey, I mean, it's a good game, right? There's like hundreds of characters, quite literally. No vulture pulsation. You mean for his... Ooh, John. Ooh, yeah. Okay, first off, hi. Second off, for that vulture, Doc Ock, Spider-Man, Peter Parker store, that's probably the second store in history of me doing pull sessions that I was like, no thank you. I made a post about it on YouTube about that, how I was going to excuse myself from that one. Doc Ock is not good. We all know this. And then beyond that, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, I mean, he's a fun idea on paper, but nowadays he just doesn't really hold any water whatsoever. And I have both of them champed. And I already have like 7 covers for Vulture just because of the champ rewards. So, no pressure. We'll save those for a really cool, hopefully, crossing fingers, anniversary pull session, right? Right. It's all good, John. Let's get into this, right? I'm sitting here staring at a screen talking to you, not moving anything. 4 stars. A to Z. Jugs is up front in there, and so is Thanos, but they don't belong to me because J and T are not at the beginning of the alphabet last time I checked. Take a swig of this and let's get into it. First off, Black Cat. Okay. Let me just eyeball 2019 here. Get my center, my feng shui, my chi. Get everything in check. Okay. Oh boy, where is Black Cat rank among this? And it's not a bad class, all things considered. I mean, there's some definitely low marks in here, but there's some high ones too. The fun thing about this class, when I just give it a good once-over, is there's a lot of tools in the shed. There's like a lot of options. Depending on who your opponent is, you have a lot of different people you could turn to here for support. I don't think any one of these persons is really a one-man wrecking crew, but at the same time, there's some good ones. Okay, Black Cat. Let's get in here. Black Cat is fun for a different reason than a lot of people. A, cheap powers. B, she has a stun option. C, she can be safe for a quick turn. And then to top it all off, there's this perfect plan, and I'm going to start there. I really like this ability. It's a nice little passive. It only makes up to 2 traps, 1 at a time, 1 per turn, right? But it says if there are fewer than 3, means basically up to 2 max is what you're getting on the board. Of these black trap tiles, she's going to make one at the start of the turn. And if you match one, she deals some damage and steals up to 2 AP in a random color. It's just random AP theft. It's a fun little extra option to have because it is damage, it is AP theft, and anytime you can deny the opponent AP, when is that a bad thing? The only bad thing about this power, really, at the end of the day, is it only has 2 max. You know, like you don't really get a lot of traps out there. It's very easy for both traps to be in unmatchable areas, and hence this power is useless at that point. Of course, not to mention traps can be overwritten or destroyed really easily, but hey, she makes a new one every turn, so that's not really part of the problem. Problem is when they get put in a place no one can touch, and then they just sit there collecting dust. I like Claws Out. It's only 6 green, nice and cheap, right? Deals some decent damage to the target for the cost, and then if the target's stunned, you do more damage on top of it. It's pretty efficient for all things considered. I usually don't like it when they say, hey, you have to have an extra qualifier in there to do more, but in this case, it's only 6 green. It does a decent amount for the 6. and I'm talking unboosted. And then it deals additional if there's a stun involved. And guess what? She can do the stun. Sometimes these characters will have these qualifiers in there and they themselves can't provide that qualifier. And that's really a big thing that irks me, is like you're kind of expecting them to be teamed with a certain element, and that's not always the case. Well, Black Cat can provide her own support here. Better luck next time for 7 purple. Lets her do damage and then go airborne for a turn. You know, aka you're safe from most things for a turn. You see a big ol' attack coming in, she can say, like, nope, I'm out of here. By the way, you're hurt too. And then as a passive, when she returns from being airborne, she stuns the target for 4 turns. Note how that's written. Whenever Black Cat returns from being airborne, meaning anyone can send her up there, and she's going to stun the target, I can talk, for 4 turns. So if 5-star Captain Marvel, you know, uses her yellow to lift her up and away, or if 3-star Colossus uses his black to throw her airborne, anytime she's coming down from the sky, she's going to stun someone for 4 turns, and she can do it herself. That provides the stun. It gives Claws Out more work, which is already a cheap power. I mean, it's a nice package all around. I'd say she's a solid mid-tier. You really just need to utilize her by, well, I don't know, getting the green, getting the purple. That's really not much more to it. Personally, I like to throw her in with a team that works with like blue stuns or black stuns, because she has a purple stun. She's a really nice, easy pick for an all stun team because she has a purple stun, and it is cheap. And, well, let's just call it what it is. She can provide AP with her trap. She does damage when people are stunned. She's a nice kit. So that's Black Cat. I say she's a nice, solid mid-tier. 4-star Captain America, or the Worthy Cap, as he has been called online, or Hammer Cap. Once upon a time, before his giant nerf, he was meta. Giantly meta. Not quite as strongly meta as Bishop was before his nerf, but Captain America did hold a giant chokehold on a lot of stuff. Him mixed with 5-star Hawkeye meant tons of countdowns, which meant tons of AP, and you couldn't do anything about it. Remember 5-star Hawkeye? The dude that says, hey, when a countdown hits 0, I'm going to make 3 blue and 2 red? Or is it 3 red? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, he made 3 blue. That's really what we're talking about here. Captain America says for 9 blue, I'm going to stun people for 3 turns. Did you know Cap could just make a ton of countdowns just because someone got hit? Once upon a time, he had a passive that said, hey, whenever his allies gets hit so much, he makes a bunch of countdowns to do like an extra effect. Okay, I'm not even going to get into what it did. Point is, the countdowns were 1-turn countdowns. They would go off. Hawkeye made tons of AP, and then Cap here would just stun like crazy. It was kind of like another version of Bishop, but you needed Hawkeye to make it run. It was the same thing, just, you know, had a 5-star requirement. Yeah, fighting against him in the simulator did suck, John. Yeah, pre-nerf. Nowadays, what is he? He's a charge tile user. Plain and simple. He also has a little bit of protection element built in. Is he horrible? No, he's not horrible. It's just, now he's situational. He's someone you think of when maybe you have a charge tile team you're making and you want an extra little element to throw in there. First off, his American Hero passive. So whenever the enemy team makes a match 4 or greater, that's now what triggers this. Cap will jump to the front. He takes 0 damage basically at level 5 from the match. That doesn't mean everything, okay? So Professor X is in there doing his little mental blast to you because a match 4 is made. Well, he ain't blocking that. But anyways, takes 0 damage from the match. Then he makes a 3-turn countdown tile that converts 4 basic yellows into red or blue charge tiles. You might think to yourself, why would I care about that? Well, each of those, okay, you're making a bunch of red or blue charge tiles, right? He uses red and blue. That's an obvious, right? That's a good thing. Well, let's go to Heavy Hitter here. Heavy Hitter for 9 blue, deals some damage to the target and stuns them for 3 turns. For every charge tile on the board, he bashes the enemy for more damage. That's pretty cool. And then on top of this, the wind-up for 6 red, nice and cheap, right? You get a regular, not fortified, countdown tile out there that creates 2 charge tiles each turn. And then when it expires, it deals a decent amount of damage to the target. But the real point is that passive. When the enemy matches a charge tile, Cap deals some damage to the target. So he slaps the enemy whenever they match a charge tile. Remember 4-star Loki? We haven't gotten to him yet in these class of videos, but 4-star Loki does the same thing. So if you could flood the board with charge tiles, which 4-star Captain likes to do, Cap can slap people for it, Loki will slap people for it, and there's obviously plenty of other ways to use your newfound AP to stun people, to cause extra damage. You get the point. He's not bad. He's just situational. You're only using him on charge tile teams, and that's it. Unfortunately, when I look at Class of 2019 and everything it's compromised of, you look at all of these people and what they bring to the table. Oh man, I'd say he's like a low mid tier. Like he's definitely, I think he's below Black Cat, only because Black Cat has cheaper powers. She can steal enemy AP. She can make herself safe. Get out of the way. Captain needs 9 blue to stun. She needs 7 purple. Captain will do his passive clapback ability, but only if the enemy makes a match 4, or only if the enemy matches a charge tile. There's a lot of things about Captain that's basically just if. And that's where he falters to me. So I think he's just a little underneath Black Cat, like a low mid tier. Hammer Gator Frog, yeah, totally. Hammer Gator Frog would be lit, honestly. You could do a lot of stuff with that. I would just hesitate on using Frogs, or Throg, I should say. Throg's yellow, because then goes all your charge tiles. And, well, a lot of them. And that'd be sad. Anyways, after Cap, let's walk over to Ronin here. Ronin, I'd say, is probably easily a low tier character. It's sad because he's got some potential to cause some big damage, but it's very situational. First off, there's his brutal technique, probably one of his best abilities. At level 5, whenever you, not the enemy, whenever you make a red match, you get to make some black attack tiles, and if there's more than 5 friendly attack tiles out there, you also increase the strength of 3 attack tiles by an okay amount. It's a passive. It's nothing bad about this, right? Except the fact that you need to match reds for it. There's 7 different colors out there, and this only works on reds. So it's fun, but at the same time, you might not use it for a few turns, or at all. It depends on how the board treats you, right? Disabling Blow is worth a look. For 11 purple, which is obviously a little expensive at this point in 2019, he does stun the opponent for a turn, deals some decent damage as well. And then if one doesn't exist, he gets a 3-turn countdown out that stuns that target for 1 turn at the start of each turn. Okay? So, 3-turn countdown that stuns a target for 1 turn at the start of each turn. Are you reading between the lines yet? So, if you have a way to extend a countdown, like actually raise its timer, and there are a couple of ways to do that in the game, you can have that person stunned longer. Now that is a lot of work though, okay? Especially since this costs 11 purple. But hey, the theory craft is there. You can play around with this ability and get someone stunned for a lot longer than normal. Anyways, it's a nice novel idea. No Escape is 6 green. You can deal some okay damage to the opponent, but the fun part about this ability is if it does kill them, it does that damage again to another random enemy. And if it downs that person, it does that damage to another random enemy. It does stop there, though. You can only kill up to 3 people with this ability, tops. More than likely, you're probably only going to kill 2 people with it. It's really hard to line up all 3, and if you are doing that, you're probably purposely planning for it, which means you probably could have killed them earlier. So, I mean, it's a fun ability and a fun idea, but you do need to have the set situation well in hand in order to get the most bang for your buck from this ability. I'd say he's easily a low tier because this is situational. This green, you're only getting the most bang for your buck in a situation. This purple is expensive. It is a good stun, but it's 11 for a potential 3-turn stun. We just talked about Black Cat having a 4-turn stun for 7 purple, didn't we? So, yeah. Moving on from Ronin. I know, I kind of want him to be better too, John. There is Human Torch. Now, this guy is a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm going to wait to give the ratings for until I get further into his explanation, because it really depends on his teams, how he's going to team up with people, how he plays, because there's a couple of facets to him. Okay, let's start with his yellow. His yellow and his green kind of make the character, but his red isn't to be dismissed. His yellow is a passive. It says basically whenever an ally, any of his allies, makes a power, he fortifies 3 friendly repeaters and then create a yellow strike tile. And that strike tile is not, I mean, this is boosted, mind you, but it's not that weak. It's actually a pretty decent strike tile, honestly. Also, just as a side note, when this happens, his character, like the 3 characters you have at the top on your team, his character actually lights on fire. It's kind of a neat effect. Anyways, that's pretty cool, but as you can see, you need repeater tiles to really get good use out of that, right? Well, enter the wildfire. 6 green, you get a 1-turn repeater that deals damage to a random enemy. But at the start of your turn, if there's at least one of these on the board, it creates an additional one on a green tile. Another green repeater gets made. You can have up to 5 of them existing on the board, and yes, each of them will proc every turn. It only does this whole maximum of 5 passive deal on its own. If you have 5 wildfires out there and you have 6 green AP, yes, you can cast it again and get a 6th wildfire and a 7th wildfire. You can cast it more and more, it's just as long as you get the green to fuel it. So the maximum is only there because that's the max that it'll passively create itself or copy itself for. So this is a lot of fun because there's a lot of different... just imagine each of these proccing, right? Each of these are individual repeaters, right? And you have those yellow strike tiles out there that he's making. Yes, that strike tile is augmenting each and every one of these tiles. So that's kind of fun right there. Remember, this was just 6 green, and that's a lot of damage potential, especially when allies are potentially casting things. And finally, there's his red, Blaze Beyond Control. It's probably his weakest link. For 8 red, you deal some damage. You destroy all friendly repeater tiles, and you deal a good amount of damage to the enemy team. That damage to the enemy team is increased by a small amount. Well, maybe it's not too small, but for each repeater tile destroyed, there is no cap on that. Okay? You could have a ton of repeaters out there and really wreak havoc on someone. And it does do that damage to the enemy team, so I should say it does wreaks havoc on the whole enemy team. I want to note that when it says destroy enemy tiles, if they are fortified, which his yellow does fortification of repeaters, yes, it only destroys the fortification. You still get the credit, you still do the damage, and you keep your repeaters because they are fortified. So this ability can be really good. He's really fun when you team him with Lizard, because Lizard will make 4 repeaters that self-fortify with his R-Complex ability. So, anyways, it's a fun ability. At the end of the day, man, that's a rough call. So his passive isn't worth anything unless an ally casts a power. But that's not that hard to do, right? His wildfire is great, but only if it creates more of its tiles, which it should. You only have to cast it once and it'll still keep going as long as the enemy doesn't get rid of them all magically. It's possible, but it's not the easiest task. And then there's his red, which is only good if... I mean, it's actually really good, but it's better served when you have fortified repeaters on the board. So, man, I'm struggling with how to rank him. I feel like he's nearly high tier. He probably is high tier if I'm being truly honest. When we're looking at this whole class, man. He's like a low high tier. Can I say that? Can I say low high tier? Because I know who I definitely would put higher than him. So he's above Black Cat. He's definitely our number 1 so far that we've gone over. Let's leave it there for now. If I change it up in my head, I'll come back to it. But I think we'll leave it there at low high tier. Oh boy. We got Carolina Dean, but hey wait, that's jumping the gun, isn't it? Because J comes before K. Juggernaut enters the scene. Juggernaut is easily high tier. This dude has a complete package, and we're not, and he doesn't even have to do much for it. Juggernaut is huge, and he should be. Um, there was only 1-star Juggernaut for the longest time in this game, and finally the developers made it so we had a 4-star Juggernaut that's worthy of the title Juggernaut. Let's start with Unstoppable. This is a huge deal right here. His base match damage is up 225%, so he's probably your tank on your team. Note that that's not as big as Ghost. I always thought that was kind of funny. Ghost has a better base match damage than Juggernaut. But anyways, and then he takes 90% less damage from enemy matches. Not powers, just from matches. So he sits in front more often than not because he has more base damage than a lot of characters, and he takes a lot less damage too. Right here, this is a solid power. Solid ability all around. Next up, Collateral is another passive. Whenever he makes a match, and he should, he's your tank, he does more damage, right? He deals extra damage to the enemy team. Really super, very important side note. This ability cannot be buffed by Okoye's Wakanda Forever. It's really weird. It's really interesting. I mean, Okoye buffs Polaris. Okoye buffs Medusa. Okoye buffs a lot of things. Okoye buffs when Spidey 2099, and we're going to get there later on, right? Makes a black, yellow, or blue match and creates webs on the board. She'll buff that. She buffs everything else. But when Juggernaut makes a match, nope, she will not buff that. So, when Juggernaut makes a match, nope, she's going to ignore it. Everyone else makes a match, oh, she's there for it. It's kind of a sad thing. But this doesn't mean you can't play and have fun with this. Mix in a little Kitty, a little Rocket, and put on a support on Rocket or Kitty that states, or maybe on Juggernaut actually, that states that whenever they make a match, they have a chance of fortifying friendly special tiles, right? Then Juggernaut can match away all day long, and Kitty is buffing those strikes. Those strikes are augmenting his collateral. You see where this is going. I honestly have used that for a good long time before I got an Okoye really strong, really strongly leveled up. He does not play well with Wakandans. Yeah, you know what? That's a good way of putting it, John. Finally, there's his his lowest ability, the Breaker of Stone. It's not even that bad of an ability. It's just when you compare it to Collateral, and well, it basically is green and red passives. For 11 blue, you destroy a chosen column. It's random if you don't have it at 5, mind you. But you destroy a chosen column and 10 random tiles from the 2 adjacent columns as well. That's it. You can do the damage for it, but it doesn't generate AP. I mean, it's just good at getting rid of certain things, but it's 11 blue. Let's call it what it is. That's not really what we're here for. It's the extra match damage, it's the match damage resistance, it's the team damage on passive. That's where this character lies, and that's why he is high tier easily. He's going to last a long time in a fight. He's going to do a lot of damage. Treat him right. Give him some extra boosts. You know, use Apocalypse or 5-star Wanda or Kitty. Use other people, and he will shine with you. Money. Hi, John. That's funny. Okay. After Juggernaut. Yep, K. K is for Carolina. Carolina Dean. I'd say she's probably pretty low tier. I don't know if she's the lowest in 2019, but she's not horrible. She does have some value and some play, but unfortunately she makes a very long game. Why? Well, she's very defense and healing rated. That's where she does for. She's a team support character. Let's just go through her powers in order and you'll see it. Team Spirit for 6 yellow says she creates some protect tiles, and for every runaway on her team, and she counts herself, mind you, she creates 2 additional protect tiles. So in other words, if her and Nico are on the same team, that's 7 tiles. Anyways, whenever an ally is healed, she improves the healing by 35%. That's for all healing. We're talking about regen, burst healing, whatever the case is, she's boosting your healing. Excuse me. Rising Sun is pretty fun when used properly. For 6 blue, she gets down a fortified countdown. Thank you, Carolina, for doing it right. And it makes a protect tile each turn, and then generates 5 blue AP when it goes off. So you get most of your AP back for this ability. While it's on the board, she's airborne, and then it becomes Sunset Strip. This is a passive while she's up in the air. If there are 5 or more friendly protects on the board at the start of her turn, she removes this, and then she turns 3 of them into strikes. That's all it does. You might think that you were expecting more, but don't worry, it's coming. So basically, if there's enough projectiles out there, she turns some of them into strikes. Here's the reason you like that, or we like that. For 8 green, she does damage to the enemy team. If there are 2 or more friendly special tiles on the board, which is not too hard with her, you heal allies for a burst of health. That damage, that green, is obviously amplified by those really good strikes. They're pretty decent, honestly, because her projectiles are decent strength. So she converting them to strikes makes for a good fuel for this solar flare to really pack a punch. So for 8 green, this is actually pretty decent. At the end of the day, though, it is a slow go. She's about projectiles, she's about going airborne, putting out protections, generating more AP. She only packs her punch once she gets the 8 green and has some strikes out there to talk about. So really, at the end of the day, it just takes time for her to get rolling, and hence that's why she's probably a low tier character. But I mean, she's not bad to have on your team if you're ready for a long slog. Next up, MODOK. MODOK is really interesting and useful for certain situations, but otherwise he kind of falls flat. I'd say he's another low tier character, but I wouldn't discount him. He's got some play. You just have to know when to use him. MODOK over here has a really weird red. For 6 red, he makes 3 big ol' attack tiles, right? But then it changes to this, which does 3 sets of damage, which is pretty decent damage. And after that, it turns into this. Creates 2 turn countdowns that each deal a pretty good amount of damage, but they are unfortified countdowns, keep that in mind. And then finally it turns into a laser, which does really good damage for the 6 red. But it stays as a laser from this point out. So every time you get 6 red after this, you can keep doing this, and that's actually really good power for 6 red. But you got to get through all these other ones first, and they're not bad. It's just you can't go back and make attack tiles every turn if you wanted to, or make countdowns if you wanted to. He only has these one-trick pony abilities once per match. They're good. It's just one-time use, except for laser. Afterburner is also good for 6 black. It's nice and cheap. He creates some enemy attack tiles, converts 6 basic tiles to red, and then deals damage to the target. So yes, he is making enemy attack tiles, but then he does damage to the enemy target, and he makes 6 basic reds. That's awesome. 6 black for 6 red creation is something that's really worth mentioning. So in all those puzzle gauntlets, when you need red tiles out there, MODOK is a good answer. I'm sorry, I meant that. No one wants a long slog. You need 30 red to get the laser. 30? Was it 30? I thought it was 24, John. Let's see. Hammer is 6. Chisel is 6. Needle is 6. That's 18 now. Yeah, 24 to cast laser. But anyways, so 24 is laser, then 30 is another laser, and 36 is another laser. laser. Anyways, Doomsday Plan for 7 blue. It's all good, man. I just wanted to make sure I was right on that too. You know, I had to check myself. I hear a sound. Give me 1 second here. What is going on here? Okay, sorry about that. No. Oh boy, let me get this out of here. Um, I had to go and check on something. I had some audio in the back that I did not like hearing. I think I have a leak from in one of my pipes somewhere in the house, and I'm gonna have to fix that at some point. But anyways, ugh. Hi, John. Okay, so Doomsday Plan states you get a 6-turn fortified countdown tile. It deals pretty good damage when it goes off. Here's the problem. It is 6 turns. That's the problem. It only costs 7 blue, but it is a fortified countdown. And whenever you fire friendly power, he does have a 6 costing red and a 6 costing black. Keep that in mind. They're nice and cheap, right? His Doomsday Plan countdowns are reduced by 3 turns. But anytime the enemy fires a power, the countdown tiles are increased by a turn. So it's a neat little ability. It's really pricey, and it has I should say really pricey. It takes a lot of time to go off, so it's unreliable. You basically have to have your red and your black ready to fire. So you fire your blue off, then your red, then your black, and all of a sudden his blue will go off. So it's not horrible. It's just, well, unreliable. At the end of the day, I'd say he's probably a pretty low tier character, but he has his uses. If you need someone to help you generate red, keep MODOK in mind. That black is really good for it. His red is fun to utilize, but there's other characters that use red more efficiently and more consistently. That's a good word for it, right? 19 AP to get instant gratification. Exactly, John. Thank you for doing the math. I appreciate that. So after MODOK's low tierness, let's move on over to Magic. Magic, I'd say, is probably a solid mid tier. And only reason I don't have her higher is because of her AP costs. But let me show you why I like her at least a good amount. Not just like MODOK, she's good for puzzle gauntlets when it comes to making reds, and we'll start off with a Ruler of Limbo for that purpose alone. Get a 1-turn purple repeater for 9 purple. Look at this. It doesn't matter which level you have it, 3, 4, or 5. That converts 2 basic tiles to red every turn. Just 2 more tiles are red. She doesn't care how many are out there. She's going to put more out there. While it's out there, it becomes the return, which is now, it basically says the same thing, but like now when it gets matched away, she creates 3 big old strike tiles. And those are good strike tiles, don't get me wrong, but honestly, I like her red better. So I kind of want her to keep the purple out there so I can keep getting red AP from the easy tiles. That's just me. Maybe you would like to match Ruler of Limbo away and get those big strike tiles. Her red feeds the Sliced Sorcery. It is pricey. It's 12 red, but what it does is a lot of damage. Even unboosted, it's really good for its cost in the 4-star realm, and removes up to 2 enemy strike attack protects for countdowns. It's a nice ability. It's probably one of the more expensive abilities that I actually don't mind using at its cost. And then finally, let's move on over to Eldritch Armor. It's a nice passive. Whenever a friendly power is fired, 2 protect tiles are created, and you fortify 2 friendly strike protects or attacks and improve them. So she makes our protect tiles and then fortifies 2 others and improves them. That's pretty awesome. So unfortunately, much like Human Torch, a friendly power has to be fired. So not she counts her own, but whereas Human Torch does not. I was saying it wrong, and I knew I was. I had to get my words right here. Human Torch can't trigger his own yellow passive. Magic can trigger her own blue passive. So her own red power and purple power count towards the Eldritch Armor. Anywho, I think she's a solid mid-tier. The fact that her purple can feed her red, if her purple gets matched away, now you have big old strike tiles. When you're casting abilities, or her allies are, you're getting protection from it, not to mention boosting them if there's any other tiles out there. She's a nice character. She does a good amount right, even though they're a little pricey. It's her priciness that makes me put her at mid-tier, not high-tier. Okay, moving on from Magic. Let's get on over here to Mysterio. Mysterio is definitely low tier. It's a shame too because I feel like there's a lot of things you could do with him, but you just need too much setup. And let me explain. Um, Mysterio. Well, there's no real good way to go in order here, but let's just start at the top. From Thin Air is 7 purple. He goes invisible for 4 turns, which is pretty cool, right? You get 5 blue trap tiles out there, and this is probably the highlight of him, right? That each deal a decent amount of damage when they are matched or destroyed. Notice that it isn't enemy or ally. Anyone can match or destroy them, and they do their damage. That's pretty cool. Usually traps are like specific and picky, like, oh, an enemy has to do it, or an ally has to do it, or they can't be destroyed, or whatever the case is. Nope, he doesn't care. Matched or destroyed by anyone, they do that damage. If he's invisible, they do extra damage. So it's probably his best ability. Again, 7 purple is pretty good. He's invisible, and he makes good traps. They can still be overwritten, though. I mean, it is a trap after all. His blue, for 0, is, nice little passive, right? At the start of his turn, if he has 8 or more blue AP, convert 5 blue to yellow and deal some damage to the highest level enemy. If he still has 4 or more blue AP after the conversion, stun the target for 2 turns. Let me just do the math for you right there. It says at the beginning, if Mysterio has 8 or more blue AP, 5 of it gets converted to yellow, okay? That just means that you have 3 left. But the bottom text says if he still has 4 or more blue AP. In other words, if you can get up to 9 blue AP, that's where you get both effects to kick in. You get the stun, you get the yellow conversion, you get the damage, everything. As long as he has 9 blue AP. He likes to play with characters that get blue AP pretty easily. I want to remind everyone that Kang, 3-star or 5-star, doesn't let you lose your AP that you use like this. Abilities like this that say you spend AP passively to fuel something, King gives you that AP back. So yes, I have played with this before where Mysterio has had 9 blue AP. He spent 5 of it to do his thing. I get all these effects, and then King gives him right back the AP. So every turn this was going off. It's really fun, really solid ability. When you mix it with King, it's just, well, without King, you only get it once in a while. Is overwritten the same as destroyed? No, it is not, John. That is the crappy part about traps. So if the trap is overwritten, nope. It didn't get destroyed. Finally, there's the pledge. Why do you want that yellow AP as Mysterio? Well, the pledge for 6 yellow says a 4-turn countdown is out there, and whenever you make yellow matches, he actually generates purple instead. And then when this countdown goes off, he steals health from a random enemy and ally. So you're unfortunately hurting your ally as well, but you are hurting the enemy too, and you're generating purple instead of yellow with your yellow matches. It's an interesting way to make more purple AP, to be sure, but it's not necessarily like the most pragmatic way to go about it. I have used this for some success in the past, but it's just a really convoluted way of getting what you really need at the end of the day. So, anyways, hey Mark, how you doing, bud? Okay, so at the end of the day, you see From Thin Air, you see From My Next Trick, and you see the pledge. Overall, he's definitely a low-tier character. His best is From Thin Air, and the only reason why... this has a lot of reasons for being good. His For My Next Trick, is pretty good as well. It's just they're very picky and fickle abilities. This one can be overwritten really easily. Trap tiles have that problem, right? Or if they're put in a corner where they'll never get touched, well, guess what? That's just a waste of your time, isn't it? And then For My Next Trick, you might not ever get that stun if you only get to 8 blue. I mean, if you get to 8 blue and you get that ability off of that damage, that's cool, but you might not get that 2-turn stun, which is really what you're looking for here. Passive stun, that's really the sweet spot of this ability. I'd say he's a low-tier character overall because he doesn't doing a ton of damage. He's not really helping healing or protecting anyone. He just has these fun little tricks. And I mean, teaming with King for more success, but that's as far as that goes. From Mysterio, we go to Namor. Hi, Mark. Nice to see you lurking. Namor used to be worse than what I'm about to explain, and I still believe he's low tier. So he went from like low tier to like low mid tier. I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of his power set. Maybe you'll see why. For 10 black, a little pricey, right? He does a pretty good hit. That is a solid hit for 10 black. I'm not gonna fault him on that. The enemy team then gains 4 AP in their strongest color. Like what? Now he used to say he gave away 1 black AP, and that was just kind of like, well, what's the point of this ability? What are you really? Is that really a punishment? Yeah. But giving 4 AP in their strongest color, well, I mean, now it makes sense why it does so much more damage, right? It's still costly. It's 10 black for just raw nuke, and that's cool. That's all it is. That's all it is, though. Imperious Rex is a 12 green that does damage to the enemy team for each blue on the board, and destroys a random set of tiles in the shape of a trident. And it really does. It's like a giant amount of tiles in the size of a trident get destroyed, and it's pretty cool animation if you put them on to see it. That said, this only does damage to the enemy team really if there's a good amount of blues out there, and you need 12 green to make it work. Let's say you get to 12 green and you only find 2 blues out there on the board. Well, guess whose green sucks all of a sudden? So this really depends on how many blues you have out there, and that's why I rate it low. It's expensive and it's situational. And finally, yeah, 3-star Black Panther without the team damage. Yeah, it's fair. Then Atlantis attacks. This is his cheapest ability at 9 purple. 5 basic tiles are converted to fortified blues. In other words, so they stick around the board more for his trident. Anyways, if there are 10 or more blue tiles, he deals a bunch of damage to the enemy team. That's probably the coolest thing about this ability, is that you're putting more blues on the board, and then if there's enough blues, you're dealing a bunch of damage to the enemy team, and those blues are fortified to help you with Imperious Rex. Still, that's a lot of setup and a lot of AP just to get these team damages out there. I'd say he's got to be a low tier. There's no real passive play in here. If you noticed, everything was active abilities, so he's no passives to speak of. He needs at least 9 in one color just to do anything. And then even so, if you get the 10 black, you're giving the opponent AP as well. No thank you. Namor is low tier. Moving on. Sabretooth. Sabretooth came out at a great time, and by what I mean by great time is it was time for Kitty and Rocket to really, get the snot beat out of them. Kitty and Rocket were ruling the game, and Sabretooth came along and said, no, we're done with that. Sabretooth sits over here in the background and says, you should have run. That passive states whenever you match an enemy strike. It has to be matched, okay? It doesn't have to be destroyed. But whenever you match an enemy strike, he destroys a random 3x3 set of tiles and deals a bunch of extra damage. God, it's so good against any team featuring Rocket. You know who else does this? Rhino. Rhino does something very similar. So yes, if you had Sabretooth and Rhino on the same team, they both trigger. Super fun. Anyways. Happy Birthday Run is a fun ability, especially when fighting against Caecilius. You know, that boss of the Strange Sights game, PvE. For 7 black, you create 3 Strength 1 enemy strike tiles. In other words, they're nearly purposeless, right? But hey, the enemy has strike tiles now, which means you could totally match them and help Caecilius go down even faster, or fuel a bunch of other abilities that rely on enemy specials out there on the board. I don't know, like Sabretooth does. It also deals extra damage per enemy strike on the board. Super fun. It's a great ability. At level 3, it only just does less damage per enemy strike tile. Honestly, I'll just keep it at 3 because I just want the 3 enemy strikes out there. Finally, Tooth and Nail. This is probably his worst ability, but for 6 red, which is kind of cheap, you deal 4 attacks of okay damage. but they ignore friendly strike tiles. And so in other words, you don't get strikes boosting them. And they continue even if they down the target. So if he downs one target, he moves on to the next guy. He's continuing his hits. It's an okay ability. It's low damage, and projectiles can work against it, but he doesn't get strikes to boost it. So, meh, along those lines. I'd say he's a strong character though overall. There's a lot of teams out there that rely on strike tiles to boost their stuff, so Sabretooth is here to help you pummel your way through them. If I look at the whole class here, man, I'm either thinking he's like a high mid or a low high. It's kind of hard to say. I think he's like a high mid tier, only because he's kind of situational. You do need the black AP to make enemy strikes if the enemy's not making any, okay? There's going to be some fights where enemies aren't using strike tiles, right? So he has to make his own. He's only situational in those regards. His red, it doesn't benefit from friendly strike tiles, so that kind of sucks too. But his green is only good against strike tiles as well, whereas Rhino's is good against strikes, protects, attacks. He's a better version of Sabretooth nowadays. So, you know, all that being said, this is class of 2019. I'd say he's probably a good, like, I'd say like a high mid tier, okay? I had to kind of really mull that over my head before I come to a decision on that. Moving on from there, we got Spider-Man 2099, or Miguel O'Hara, just to those of us who like to remember names for no reason. Miguel O'Hara is a really important Spidey character in this game because he is the guy that's going to feed your webheads all the webs they need. Let's just start off right with what the meat and potatoes are of this character. The Harbinger of Heroes. Whenever a friendly hero, meaning you can't have a villain do this on your team, okay? So Okoye, yes. Apocalypse, no. Makes a black, blue, or yellow match. They create 3 green, purple, or red web tiles and deal damage. That's a lot of webs just for making a match. 3 webs? That's awesome. And you deal the passive damage. Do you know Okoye boosts this? She boosts the damage. So she can make the yellow match or the black match or the blue match for you, and then she's boosting the damage this outputs. She's a fun partner with him. Just saying. Anyways, he's also good for the webheads, obviously, because Miles loves matching friendly, I should say any web tile, obviously, to make free AP. Spider-Gwen matches webs to do passive healing for her team. So Miguel over here is making the webs to fuel the party. Spider Bite's a good ability too. 8 blue, you get a 4-turn stun, and while that countdown tile is out there on the board, that target takes 75% additional damage. I mean, what else can you say? That's pretty solid. 4-turn stun, and that guy's gonna die faster. That's a good thing. And finally, Uprising. It's easily his least important ability, but it's not a bad ability still. For 9 black, you deal some damage to the target, and then up to 5 web tiles turn into 1-turn countdowns. Yes, it's using your web tiles. That's probably the worst thing about it. But anyways, each of those web tile, those that turned into countdowns, deal a good amount of damage to random enemies. Like, they're really strong. So it is a good use of your web tiles. It's just might not be what you signed up for if you're looking for a web tile based team with Miles or Peter Parker or Spider-Gwen, or you get the point. Anyways, he's definitely high tier. He's got passive damage, passive web output. Those webs fuel Uprising, and then he has a good stun that also increases damage output to the enemy. This is a solid character. None of his abilities are way too expensive. They're priced just right. He's a good character all around. Definitely a high tier. Yeah, so Okoye is fun for all, but not Jugs. It's really weird. You almost feel like Okoye should have it just should say in her passive, just says works for all heroes. I feel like it would make more sense than why she didn't buff Juggernaut. Like, she works for heroes, but they didn't do that. Anyways, after Miguel O'Hara, let's go on over to everyone's favorite low tier dude to dish on, but he's proven himself recently. Talos. Oh god, Talos had a horrible kit. Is this kit better? Yes, it is. Is it amazing? Well, it's better than Namor. Let me show you why. Where do we start with this? Let's start with access granted. For 7 purple, you make 4 trap tiles that shapeshift you into the target enemy. But while any of those traps are on the board, he steals 2 AP in any of the shapeshifted target's 3 strongest colors when that color is matched. So, let's say you shapeshift into Iron Man, right? Iron Man's usually, let's say 3-star Iron Man. He's red, yellow, blue. Okay? Whenever red, yellow, and blue is matched, he's stealing 2 AP in those colors. Now, it only works for those trap tiles. If you wanted to, you could shapeshift into a different character later on, but those shapeshift trap tiles, they go away to replace with the new character's trap tiles. So don't think that you could just have multiple trap tiles out for multiple characters. That's not how Talos works. You can only shapeshift into one person at a time. Also, at the start of the match, he creates 3 trap tiles targeting the front enemy. So he starts the fight already shapeshifted. That is a giant boon compared to how he used to do. He used to not do that, and hence you didn't get his little fun bonuses unless you spent the AP and the time to do it. Now Talos actually comes right out the gate ready to roll, stealing AP. I'm sorry, what was that, John? Then no gore or Mega Red. Boo. Right, that is a very big boo, John. I wouldn't endorse it per se, but it would make more sense to me why Okoye didn't buff Juggernaut then. And yes, Talos is definitely better than Puck, Mark, by far. Stunning Blow, I mean, you could have it at 5, and I could see why, but look at the power cost difference. Isn't that weird? 8 blue, 8 blue, 7 blue. It goes down to 7 blue at level 5. You don't see powers do that much anymore. Anyways, he stuns the enemy for 4 turns for 7 blue. That's really good, right? And then creates a blue 1-turn countdown that stuns any unstunned enemies. That is plural. So the rest of the team gets stunned for 2 turns after a 1-turn countdown goes off. Now I only have it at level 3, and this isn't because I don't like the ability. I really do like the ability, but I like that purple being at 5, and his next ability, his black passive, I love that being at 5 as well. So let me show you why. For every AP Talos has more than the enemy in any color, he deals 28% bonus match damage. That's every AP. So if he has 10 red AP and the enemy has 0 red AP, well, he has 10 more than them, doesn't he? So he's going to deal 280% bonus match damage. Guess who's doing more match damage than Juggernaut now? If Talos is shapeshifted, his bonus match damage is increased to 39% instead of 28%. The only bad thing about this whole skill unmatched thing is that it only deals it based on the differential. So if the enemy is like producing purple hand over fist and you're trying to do purple hand over fist, you're not going to get that far. And not to mention, this is a percentage based thing. So he's really good at purple, blue, and black, right? Look at the percentage. Let's say you have a lot of red, right? If you have 300% more red damage, that's only upping your red up to like 120 or something like that, or 90 or whatever the case is. But 90, right? Yeah, I was doing too much math. But point is, you would still want to use it on his blue, his purple, his black. That's where the match damage really comes into play. Boosting your yellow, red, and green, while it's fun and novel, at the end of the day, that's not what you're here for. So, anyways, he's super good at match damage when you get the blue, purple, and black higher than the enemy's blue, purple, and black. And this access granted is going to help you steal that stuff from them. And then Stunning Blow is here to help, hold still while I do more of this to you. He's not bad now. He was definitely low tier before. I'd say he's a nice mid tier now. He can actually do good match damage. He has a stun. He starts out shapeshifted, ready to steal. He's not a bad character at all. I would easily use him as a match damage tank in front of Ghost nowadays. I think he could do a lot more in much less time. What's that, Mark? So if you match with Talos with a character that steals for your team, yep, you get where it's going. Yeah, if you could keep stealing AP so the enemy has very little and you keep trucking, oh yeah. That's some fun stuff you could do there. After Talos, well, let's keep with the alphabetical order, right? Which means let's go back up to Thanos. 4-star Thanos does not do what 3-star or 5-star Thanos does. Meaning he doesn't have court death. Because that's really what we're talking about for Thanos, right? This Thanos does a different trick. Most people, okay, when he came out, he was there as well as one of the many people created to stop Rocket Team's madnesses. Just like Sabretooth, Thanos came out to say, yo, you need to stop, you stupid raccoon. If I could find a Puck Talos !? Meta team, John, okay. Let's not go too far. I found an awesome, well, Mark found an awesome use for 5-star Captain Marvel. And so, you know, there's only so many miracles allowed per week. Inescapable destiny here. Blue-purple. This is a big thing when he came out. At the start of the turn, if there are 4 or more enemy strike, attack, or protect tiles on the board, remove one of them. Not destroy. Remove one of them and convert 2 basic tiles to green. I'm sorry, I didn't put it at 5. If there are 3 or more at level 5, look at that. He removes 1 and converts 3 basic tiles to green. That doesn't sound like the greatest thing of all time, but when there's so many teams out there that rely on a bunch of strikes, protects, attacks, you get the point out there on the board, it's nice to like just slowly chip away at that and say, nah, no, you're not going to get to keep playing that game. What's that, Mark? This morning I just maxed 4-star Thanos. Nice, dude. Good job. He's useful. We'll get into especially why, I mean, if you don't know already. This black is not that big of a deal if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But, I mean, it is what it is. It is a nuke. 9 black. It's not that expensive. Doesn't damage the target and then deals additional damage to all enemy heroes. If that front enemy target is a hero, yes, it's going to deal that extra damage to him as well. So, yeah, this can be good, but it's situational. It's best used against heroes, but you don't control that. You're just bringing Thanos into the fight, right? If there are heroes there, then so be it. Really what we're here for is Mad Titan's Mercy. You might wonder why. We'll explain in a second. For 12 green, you're destroying 32 random tiles. Remember, there's 64 tiles on the board, so this is half the board. You get extra damage dealt for each special tile destroyed. That means enemy or friendly, up to a max of a good amount of damage. These destroyed tiles do not generate AP. Why this is so important is because, if you remember, Beta Ray Bill, his passive states that whenever a friendly protect tile is matched or destroyed, you create 1 blue or green AP. Well, throw Polaris into the mix. Whenever you destroy or match away a friendly strike, attack, protect, or enemy strike, attack, protect, for that matter, she recreates them in triplicate on the board. So Mad Titan's Mercy says, hey, there goes half the board. Polaris says, oh, I'm just going to put them all back on the board and then some. And Beta Ray Bill's like, oh, here's a ton of blue and green AP for doing that for me. Thanks. Feel free, Thanos, to cast that green over and over again until the enemy is dead. Well, of course, use other abilities as you wish in the middle. Super fun. Thanos is amazing for that alone. Other people can do that as well, but Thanos was one that was definitely utilized a lot for this because it is half the board. Some characters, you know, I think it was like, what? 1-star Juggernaut's green only costs 6, but it only destroys like 12 tiles. It's good. It's just this, you're guaranteed to grab a ton of those protect tiles off the board and let Polaris go crazy. So that's why he's used a lot for that, as they call it, a Winfinite combo. At the end of the day, though, Thanos is really only known for the Winfinite combo, and he's good against enemies that use those strike, attack, protect combos. I mean, he's not really used for much else. There's other people that do more damage and are more effective in other ranges, in other situations. He's there just for that trick, really, at the end of the day. Fighting against Rocket or Polaris, or fighting with Polaris for a Winfinite combo. So I'd consider him like a low mid tier, because otherwise, outside of those situations, there's much better you can do with your time. Finally, let's get to the last one. Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane is, well, pretty fun, honestly. It's just she's forgotten about often, and it's not easy. I mean, it's pretty easy to see why. Let's show you what she's got, and it's not bad. You'll see. Rend for 8 black, which is not that pricey. You slash the target 5 times. Each slash does okay damage. It's low. But then she goes and creates 1 black invisibility tile. She becomes invisible. You hit the enemy and then 5 times and then go invisible. But while she's invisible, she can't do it again. So as long as that invisibility tile's out there, she can't do that again, okay? So only 1 invisibility tile allowed for her. But this is an awesome ability right there. You smack the enemy 5 times and then they can't find you? That's awesome. Go for the Throat is pretty decent. It's nice and cheap at 6 red. You deal some damage to the enemy and create some big old strike tiles. Not bad at all. And you know, those strike tiles boost her damage on that black, remember. And then finally there's her purple, which is probably the most unique thing she has, but, well, they're not fortified, okay? It makes countdown tiles, green ones at that, for 7 purple. And each of them range from 1 turn to 5 turns. So there's 5 of them out there. There's a 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, 4 turn, and 5 turn tile. Each of those deals pretty good damage, if I'm being fair. But they're unfortified, and there's plenty of them. The enemy's bound to match some of them away. You're probably bound to get a couple of them off, actually. But you've paid for 5. You're probably not going to get all 5 off. Probably her least important ability, honestly, because there's a chance you would get none of them off. If the enemy meticulously matches away the 1 turn one, well, they have a turn until they need to match away that 2 turn one now. And then 2 turns until they need to match away that 3 turn one. They can take their time with you disabling this ability. Rend is really good. Go for the Throat's pretty good. I'd say she's just a solid mid-tier, though. Her real bang for her buck comes from that black. The fact that she can go invisible and just sit there, she can still do Go for the Throat while invisible. This isn't bad at all. She can put out strike tiles and do mini red nukes while she's invisible. This is great stuff. But that's really all she's got. There's no protection, no healing, no tricks up her sleeve, no AP creation, no traps, no nothing else. She's very plain Jane, but she does it really well. So I say she's a solid mid-tier for that purpose alone. There's no passives. If she had a passive somewhere, she'd probably be high tier. But if you look around this roster, there's a lot of passives, and she's not there with it. So, sorry. We're just going to stick you down at mid-tier level. That's my ratings on 2019's 4 stars. There's a good amount of good people in here, good characters to use, but if you noticed, a lot of them require buddies to get their jobs done. You know, Sabretooth needs enemy strike tiles, and he can provide it, but he still needs them, right? Spidey 2099 relies on web tiles. He makes them, but he still needs them. You know, some of them need AP in abundance, like Namor, who, you know, just not good, or even Talos. He needs AP to do his extra match damage he's good for. You know, MODOK's got a cool shtick with that blue countdown, but he needs allies or friendly powers cast to make it go down quicker to actually get that bang for your buck. You know, Hammercap is awesome, but he needs charge tiles. He needs a charge tile team to back him up. So there's not really many standalone characters in here except for maybe Juggernaut. And that's why Juggernaut got an instant high tier rating. Juggernaut, it's pure damage absorption, and you can't deny that. It's just nice solid package. So that's 2019's 4 stars. That's what I got for you on this one. Okay, guys, that's it for me. I hope you had a good Labor Day. It is now past midnight where I'm at, so I should probably get some sleep for work tomorrow. I will catch you all later. Thanks for joining me, Mark and John. Talk to you guys next time. See ya.